Whenever you're ready, you can start.
Traveling throughout Europe can be a rewarding experience. Traveling with only a backpack can make that trip an adventure. Today I will inform you on ways to plan, execute on a budget, and travel safely on a backpacking trip through Europe. I spent 6 months planning my 2010 trip backpacking Europe for 5 weeks on a college student's budget. While I may not be an expert, I certainly have a lot of data to draw from. This knowledge can be applied in other foreign nations and even in new cities. As college students, we learn immeasurable amounts of information on a daily basis. So let this just be a quick source of knowledge if you're planning to leave the country. First, I'm going to talk about a few crucial steps and precautions before diving into planning this trip of a lifetime. The most important, perhaps, is having a valid, up-to-date passport. This can take a while if you don't yet have one, so prepare months ahead for this. Also, you want to make sure, or you want to maybe consider insurance for your trip and make sure your immunizations are current if necessary. In the article Youth, Travel, and Backpacking, it states that maintaining contact with someone you trust is important if something goes wrong. Whether that means leaving your itinerary with family or contacting U.S. embassies nearby your destination, it's vital to stay on the grid, so to speak, while traveling abroad. First and foremost, if you're looking to travel anywhere on a budget, planning is number one. You can plan as much or as little as you want to, but don't sidestep it completely. There are a number of things that you should consider, from transportation to accommodation to dealing with currency. Arguably, one of the most important of these is your flight to and from your destination. When on a budget, it's extremely helpful to give yourself plenty of time to shop around for the cheapest fares and also be flexible with your dates, as this can shave a few bucks off and give you some more spending money on your trip. Also, pay attention to the time zone differences too. You don't want to leave at noon here and arrive in London or Paris at 3 a.m. jet lag. When you do arrive, you'll probably want a place to stay. So when planning, knowing where you want to sleep is as important as knowing what you want to see while you're there. Hotels are obviously the most expensive generally, but offer the most privacy. For those feeling adventurous or on a really tight budget, couch surfing is a fun option that allows for a unique local experience. On the site couchsurfing.org, it states that it is an international nonprofit network that connects travelers with locals in over 230 countries and territories around the world. It says today, over 1 million people who might otherwise never meet are able to share hospitality and cultural understanding. The most popular choice for the budget traveler, however, is hostels, which I can assure you is nothing like the movie. There are countless websites that allow you to search for hostels, read reviews, and make reservations within a few clicks. The safest route while planning your accommodations is to reserve them well in advance, giving you a plan where you will be throughout the trip. If you're feeling spontaneous, it's quite possible you could just walk into a hostel with no reservation and be just fine. On the other hand, in busy seasons, you could spend most of an evening searching for a room and end up in a really bad part of town. When searching for a hostel, you may have to choose between a pricey hostel downtown or a little cheaper one that's a little farther out. The choice completely depends on your priorities, as both offer their own pros and cons. So how do you pay for all this? This is where currency exchange comes in, and there's a little bit of a learning curve to it. A quick tip is to stay away from the flashy currency exchange counters. Most take a percentage out for their commission, which can add up quick and not give you the most bang for your buck. Your best option is to locate a bank or ATM, and they generally trade at current exchange rates. If you're using a credit card, make sure to notify your credit card company so they don't freeze your accounts while you're abroad. Also, it can be helpful to exchange currency in advance, so when you arrive, you're not scrambling around looking for the nearest ATM. Traveler's checks are also an option, but they're less common nowadays, but they can come in handy if for some reason your credit card doesn't work, or you prefer just to not carry cash in general. Now, in order for you to execute this trip within a reasonable budget, it's a good idea to know the ins and outs of what kind of inexpensive entertainment is offered at each destination. Maybe you can't afford to go up in the Eiffel Tower or go up in the London Eye. But many cheaper alternatives are available if you know where to find them. For example, many museums offer special discounts on certain days or if you go in during certain hours, like late in the evening. Also, in many of Europe's magnificent churches and cathedrals, you can just sit in and attend a service free of charge, unless, of course, you want to make an offering. When you're hungry, restaurants are abundant, but you can quickly burn a hole in your pocket if you eat every day at them. So instead, maybe find a grocery store, or even better, an open market for a fun cultural experience while interacting with the locals and trying to speak the language. These are just a few examples of how thinking outside the box can not only help you save money, but can offer cool aspects of a culture that may have otherwise been overlooked. If you're looking to trim expenses from necessities, like accommodation and travel, there are ways to do that too. If you're staying in a hostel, some may let you stay for less or even free if you offer your services to help clean the place up. And when traveling between towns, there is almost always more than one option. From more expensive high-speed trains to the more economical yet slower regional trains, there are price ranges for all. According to the site Rail Europe, there are over 3,000 miles of high-speed trains, but all destinations can be reached by regional if you have the time. Not only is the type of train important, but also the time of day you're looking to travel. If you travel during on-peak hours, it's going to be unbelievably busy, and generally the prices are a lot more expensive. However, if you want to travel during off-peak hours, this can greatly reduce ticket costs as well as stress on both you and probably everybody else in the train as well. If your next stop is a long way away, say you're traveling from maybe London or Paris to Eastern Europe or something like that, there's also a few cheap airlines options as well that could prove to be cheaper than trains in some circumstances. Whichever you choose, leave yourself flexibility and time and keep up a sense of fun. In closing, whether you're crossing the pond or moving to a new city, information is critical, and with the knowledge, you may enjoy your trip to the fullest. When planning your adventure on a budget, it's important to do as much preparation in advance so you travel safely and with confidence when you choose to travel to a different country. Thank you.